Here's something I did over and over while reviewing the new James Bond game. When I lost track of my objective, and I lost track a lot, I'd walk Bond into the nearest dark corner, not for cover, not for stealth, so I could actually read my own objective marker against a darker background. That's the workaround a major 2026 release left me with. And it's the perfect way into a bigger question, one I don't think gets asked enough. Can a low vision player actually play a stealth game? I want to be specific here, because stealth is the hardest genre to get right for low vision, and it's worth understanding why. Most genres you can muscle through. A platformer you can take slow. A shooter you can turn on aim assist. But stealth is built on one thing: seeing the threat before the threat sees you. Where is the guard looking? How far does his vision reach? Did that patrol just notice the body? Every bit of that is information the game expects you to perceive, and most of it hands you visually. So when your sight is limited, stealth doesn't just get harder, it can stop working entirely, unless the game gives you the tools to get that information another way. And here's the thing, those tools exist. The industry has already solved this 4 times over. So today I'm going to lay out the 4 features that make a stealth game playable when you can't rely on your eyes. And then I'm going to hold 007 First Light up against every one of them, using my own playthrough. Let's get into it. 4 things, in the order you'd actually use them sneaking through a level. 1. Track the threat. Lock on. The most basic one. A lock-on that keeps an enemy fixed in your view, so you always know where the danger is. Assassin's Creed Shadows does this well. It grabs the nearest enemy, and when that one goes down, it chains straight to the next. Give me a way to keep the threat on screen without hunting for it. 2. See the space. A customizable high contrast mode. This is the big one. A proper high contrast mode strips the colour out of the world and paints the things that matter in bright, readable colour. Star Wars Outlaws is the example to beat. It desaturates the entire environment, and it colours enemies by whether they've noticed you. Aware, unaware, different colours. You pick the colours. That last part is everything. And if you want to see the ceiling of this idea, Spider-Man 2 lets you set separate colours for 11 different things. Hero, ally, each enemy type, interactables, collectibles, individually. That's the dream. Hold that thought because it's going to matter a lot in a few minutes. 3. Find what you can't see. Navigation assist. For players with very little or no vision, this is the one that makes a game possible rather than just easier. The Last of Us Part 2 is still the gold standard. You can follow an audio guide along the main path, or flip into a scan mode and have the game point you toward the nearest enemy or the nearest item. Threat or treasure, your choice, on demand. And 4, the cherries on top. 2 quick ones. A separate stealth difficulty slider, like Ghost of Yotei, so you can tune how fast guards detect you without touching anything else. And a slow time option, like Spider-Man 2, to buy yourself thinking room mid-encounter. Nice to have. Remember the first one especially. So that's the ruler. 4 features. Now let's measure. And before I get into what's missing, I want to be fair, because this is not a lazy game. There's a real accessibility menu in here. Button remapping, subtitle options, the standard modern checklist. The basics are covered. But stealth is a huge part of this game. It's a young Bond, earning the 00, sneaking through levels the way you'd expect. And that's where it struggles. Let me start somewhere that might surprise you, because I want to be straight with you rather than just pile on. The stealth takedown prompts? I could see them fine. It's a short line of text and a clear white button icon. And it's always the same button, so I'm not squinting to reread it every time. For me, that worked. But, and this is the real problem, system-wide, the prompts and icons are just too small, and there is no way to make them bigger. None. No size scaling anywhere in the game. Which brings us back to where we started. I kept losing the objective waypoint because it washes out against anything bright and I can't scale it up. So, dark corner. Every time. And here's what kills me. There's a known fix for exactly this. Assassin's Creed Shadows and Star Wars Outlaws both let you put a background behind your UI. A little panel so prompts and markers stay readable no matter what's behind them. It's a solved problem. 007 just didn't include the solution. Feature 1 off the rubric. Lock on? There isn't one. There's an aim assist when you raise a gun, but here's the catch with a Bond game. 007 won't let you shoot first. You can't fire until you've been fired at. So in a stealth section, the part where I actually need to track a guard, the one targeting feature in the game is locked behind a trigger I'm trying very hard not to pull. It's a hard 0 on tracking. And now the big one. The feature that should have been 007's answer to all of this, and instead is the clearest example of the whole problem. It's called the Q lens. It's Bond's scan system. You raise his watch, and it highlights objects in the world that Bond can interact with from a distance. And this isn't a side gadget, it's woven right through the stealth. You use it constantly to trigger distractions, or to open up new ways through a level. On paper, this is exactly the kind of tool I was praising in The Last of Us. A scan system, the genre's core low-vision lifeline. Except I found it genuinely hard to use. The prompts are difficult to read through the lens, and the highlights on interactables are faint. They barely stand out from everything else. Sit with the irony of that for a second. This is the tool designed to help you find things you can't easily see, and it needs good vision to use. And the fix is sitting right there in the genre's history. Imagine if activating the Q lens darkened the room and lit the interactables up in bright, high-contrast colour. That's not a moonshot. That's detective vision from the Batman Arkham games. That's the Wraith world from Monolith's Middle-earth series. Games have been doing press a button, the world dims, the important stuff glows for over a decade. 007 built the activation, the watch, the scan, and skipped the part that makes it readable. They had the idea, they left out the accessibility. So let me tell you how all of this actually played out. I had the game on easy, and to be clear, getting spotted in this game doesn't fail you. It drops you into combat. And on easy, I could dispatch those enemies and carry on with the mission well enough. But that completely misses the point. When I play 007, I want to be the super spy who can go anywhere and do anything. Slip through unseen. I don't want a Bond who gets clocked the moment he enters a room and is forced into a shootout every single mission. That isn't James Bond. It breaks the whole fantasy. And here's the trap underneath that. If I wanted to play on normal or hard for the challenge everywhere else in the game, staying undetected would have been near impossible. Because my only lever is the global difficulty. This is where a feature that Ghost of Yotei already has would really benefit the game. A separate stealth detection slider. I could keep the combat tough, keep the challenge I actually want, and just give myself a little more breathing room before a guard spots me. But 007 welds it all together. So think about what that means. A low-vision player who can handle the combat just fine is still locked out of the higher difficulties, purely because the stealth has no accessibility support. The barrier isn't your skill, it's the missing features. So, can a low-vision player play 007 First Light? I did. I got through it. And honestly, there's a lot to love here. It looks stunning, it feels like Bond, but that came with a dark corner workaround for my own heads-up display, a scan tool I had to fight, and a difficulty setting I didn't really choose so much as settle for. And that's what gets me, because 007 First Light didn't fail at something hard, it covered the accessibility menu, the checklist, and then missed the accessibility of stealth itself. The lock-on, the high contrast mode, the scan that's actually readable, the separate slider. None of it is unsolved. The genre worked it out years ago. Bond just didn't get the memo. A game can have an accessibility menu and still not be accessible to play. That gap between the checklist and the lived experience is the whole reason I make these. So I want to hear from you. What stealth game should I put up against these same 4 features next? Drop it in the comments. Tell me what to test and I'll go find out whether it actually holds up when you can't rely on your eyes.